What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Well, yesterday we had Sony's State of Play showing off a bunch of games, but at the end it seemed like a lot of people online were disappointed, but we'll go through every announcement here today. Also, we are going to be talking about a big time reveal that sort of just happened out of nowhere, very quietly, actually. And we'll also be talking about the sales in Japan when it comes to Sony and Nintendo, because it does appear that the trend has completely flipped. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button, helps that a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawnwave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And we're gonna start today with Tango Gameworks, and actually a pretty big departure from the studio. We can see this posted up over on Twitter. This is from the Bethesda account saying, "We can confirm that Shinji Mikami has decided to leave Tango Gameworks in the coming months. We thank him for his work as a creative leader and supportive mentor to young developers on the Evil Within franchise, Ghostwire Tokyo, and of course, Hi-Fi Rush. We wish Mikami-san well in the future and are excited by what lies ahead for the talented developers of Tango." So this got posted up. People started to immediately speculate what happened. Did he depart because he wasn't happy that Microsoft absorbed ZeniMax and all this? No, I honestly, I just believe he's retiring. He's getting up there in age, and maybe he's like, we've completed all these projects, and it's possible Evil Within 3 is also kind of happening behind the scenes, and he's to a position where, okay, in a couple of months, as they say, he can step aside and kind of let the younger generation at Tango take over, and he kind of ride off in the sunset and just sort of enjoy retired life. But I guess we'll keep an eye on it to see if maybe he pops up with another studio or something. I believe, though, he's retiring and kind of riding off into the sunset from here. Also, as we get closer to E3 time over the coming months, we will be hearing more and more rumors get out there, and one to keep an eye on is certainly Metal Gear Solid with Konami. In fact, we can see this posted up by Wario64. This is citing VGC in their podcast, saying Konami planned to have a pretty big E3. A new Castlevania, and Metal Gear Solid 3 Remake expected to be there. Less clear on what the plans are currently for the older Metal Gear games. Metal Gear Solid 3 Remake may be used as a test bed for what comes next. So go check out that podcast with VGC as they went in a bit more detail here. But yeah, the talk around Metal Gear Solid 3 has been out there for a while, and the word is that Konami is looking around, gets a studio like Virtuos to remake Metal Gear Solid 3, and thinking, okay, if this works well, we'll then go on to other Metal Gear Solid remakes, maybe that first one that originally was like attached to Blue Point. I think the idea of at least getting the collection back and on as many platforms as possible would be a good idea, and I hope that's something that they are lining up as well. But this could be a potential reveal at a Sony showcase that we're expecting in May, or maybe Konami just shows up to E3 and blows the roof off the place. A lot of possibilities. Certainly want to keep an eye on this one going forward, especially the possibility of Castlevania. Is that a 2D one? Is that a full 3D? Again, a lot of questions here. Oh, and I had mentioned before that eventually WB would show up with a pretty big number in terms of sales for Hogwarts Legacy, and well, take a look. This posted up over on Variety. Hogwarts Legacy earns $850 million and sells more than 12 million units in its first 2 weeks on the market. I thought it'd be about 10 million in the first week or so that was close, right? But yeah, turns out Hogwarts Legacy, big time success in terms of sales. And remember, this is only on next gen or current gen systems now, PS5 and Xbox Series and PC. It'll have another release on PS4 and Xbox One, and then another release on the Switch, although I'm still curious what exactly that's going to look like. I'm sure many of us are. If you've played the game, you're probably like, wow, this is going to be an interesting port to the Switch. But I wouldn't be shocked overall for 2023 if Hogwarts Legacy ends up being the best-selling game for the entire year. But again, we'll see as we go along with those other releases. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with Sony and their State of Play. It was about 40 minutes or so, with the back half certainly taken up by really one game, which we'll get to that one game here soon. But we're gonna go through all the different announcements here, starting at the top with the Foglands. It looks kind of like a first-person shooter with zombies, that's supernatural elements. As in 2023. This was part of 5 different titles shown at the top of the State of Play that were all for PSVR 2. Then they had Green Hell VR, It's a kind of like an island survival game that's in 2023. Synapse, it's a first-person shooter. I wrote down had telekinesis powers. Kind of reminded me a bit of Superhot with its art style. 2023. Journey to Foundation, another first-person shooter, space galaxy theme, sort of autumn 2023. And probably the one that really caught my eye is Before Your Eyes. They said it's an interactive afterlife where every time you blink, or I guess just blink at certain points in the game, you'll jump forward in time for your character and just kind of see different parts of their life. So again, it's creative with what the PSVR 2 is able to do. Had like sort of a cel-shaded art style, and is out in a couple of weeks on March 10th. Anyway, then we got away from the PSVR 2 section. It went by pretty quick. It was at least good to have some PSVR 2 games there because the headset just came out, but nothing massive here for VR users. Anyway, we moved to Destiny 2. Lightfall, which, yeah, Bungie is owned by Sony now. No surprise they would showcase it here in some way. That is out next week on the 28th. Seems like something would be a lot more exciting for me if I was into Destiny at all. But hey, Destiny fans, there you go. Look forward to next week. Then we had Chia. That's March 21st, 2023. And it's going to PlayStation Plus Premium and Extra day one. So this sort of falls in line with what happened with Stray, for example, or Bugsnax, sort of that indie game that Sony pays to then have included in their premium and extra tier. So not a bad pickup there for the service. And then they went into a whole thing about PlayStation Plus for March. And I thought about it because generally they'll wait until almost the last day of the month to talk about what's coming up. But February is a shorter month, so hey, here we go. We'll go over them very quickly. Uncharted Legacy of Thieves Collection, which is a good pickup for the service there. That going into extra. Rainbow Six Extraction, then Immortals Phoenix Rising, talked about Chia, and then Ghostwire Tokyo that I assume is going to pop up on the Xbox side around that same time. For PlayStation Plus Essential, we have Battlefield 2042, Code Vein, and Minecraft Dungeons. After the PlayStation Plus side, we did go into a game called Humanity. Looks kind of like Lemmings, sort of. You're just commanding a whole group of people around and trying to get them, it seems, to a finish line. That's May 2023. We'll have PSVR 2 support. Then they showed off Goodbye Volcano High. I feel like we've seen this a few times before. Coming out June 15th, though, 2023. And we had Naruto Boruto, Ultimate Ninja Storm Connections. I don't know much about Naruto, but there you go. I was trying to figure out if it was a 2D fighter or a 3D arena brawler style, but coming out 2023. Baldur's Gate 3. It is going to consoles. At least it looks like it's the PS5 for now. That's August 31st, 2023. So if that is a timed PlayStation exclusive, it seems like a pretty big pickup for them. They have Wayfinder, which is like an action RPG multiplayer style game. Kind of had a World of Warcraft art style to it. The beta, though, that is starting up next week on February 28th. We then had a look at new characters for Street Fighter 6. This includes Zangief, Lily, and Cammy. Zangief in particular stood out. Obviously has like the wrestling moveset, but he had the jackhammer and stuff. So I do like the art style for Street Fighter 6. And while I'm not a big fighting game person, I am feeling at least interested enough to try this one out and see exactly what they have going on here. Then we have Resident Evil 4 Remake, which to me continues to be the star of the show whenever it's there. Resident Evil 4 Remake, it looks incredible. Really excited for this one. Not too much longer. We're a month out now, and they just showed more elements from the game. Some of it just seemed like outright spoiler territory. I guess it's out of context enough for people who haven't played it, so they're not really sure what they're looking at. But then they showed, of course, Leon. He had like a roundhouse counters a hit, and then kicks him right in the face. He had like the German suplex. It's all there. Really excited for this one. Demo coming soon. No shadow drop like I was hoping, but I'm thinking maybe in the next week or two, since we're getting close, we'll have something like a one-shot demo even for Resident Evil 4 Remake. Exciting stuff. But then things took a turn because we already knew there was going to be an extended look at Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. This is a game that Rocksteady has been working on seemingly for the last 7 to 8 years after they, I guess, wrapped up Arkham Knight and then worked to fix it on PC. They moved on to this live service title. They showed it off, and I feel like a lot of people looked at this and said, wow, okay, this is what Rocksteady is doing. So we can see some of the gameplay and the extended look here. It is indeed a third-person action shooter, which we kind of already knew that anyway. It's set 5 years after Arkham Knight, 4-player online co-op. If you do not play online with other human players, they will fill in the other 3 characters as bots, so there will always be 4 different players in the field. So obviously the game is designed specifically around multiplayer, and we'll talk a bit more about that online connection here soon. From what they showed, this is, I assume, an early portion of the game. They had Flash, who was corrupted by Brainiac, who's also brainwashed all the other heroes, which they did showcase, like Green Lantern, Superman, Batman, and obviously the Flash. Wonder Woman did show up at the end. It appears she's not brainwashed, and I assume is going to work with the Suicide Squad to take down all of the other heroes. They basically showed what felt very generic, to be honest. You had a horde of soldiers, choppers, tanks, all different weak points that glowed that you would shoot. You're jumping around like there's no gravity. It looks like it could control well, and I'm sure the shooting will be fine. It just doesn't look like anything that new. Also, there's a lot of commentary from the characters as they were doing everything, so I don't know if that'll get annoying necessarily over time. Different weapon classes, manufacturers, all the weapons are upgradable, different gear sets, and yeah, there's a gear score and power level, which I don't necessarily think that went over too well online. The cosmetics, you can set what your character looks like, even if you have on different gear, so you're not necessarily bound to any sort of appearance to fill in that gear score, so I guess there's that. There will be constant content updates. It will have the live service battle pass, all these different things, and it will be always online. That's right, even if you're playing just single player, it's just a constant online connection, which we have seen with more and more titles recently. Just talked about with Redfall, but here we are now with Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, indeed needing that internet connection, even to play by yourself with all bots. And finally, we did get the release date, May 26th, 2023. So yeah, a couple of weeks after The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. I don't really think these are going to affect each other much at all. I mean, they're on completely different systems, and well, the other one is basically a live service game, which would probably compete more in line with something like Redfall. But I gotta admit, I was pretty disappointed as I was watching this, because when Rocksteady originally showed up with Batman Arkham Asylum, it was new, it was fresh, it felt like they were kind of paving the way for the industry, and this feels like Rocksteady showed up and was chasing a trend. And the issue I think we're running into, and it's been brought up multiple times by people like Jason Schreier, these development cycles are taking so long that a game like this probably made a ton of sense 7 years ago when they started it, right? They're like, oh wow, okay, it's like 2016. Let's do this live service game where take all the Suicide Squad members, will be always online, we'll do all these really cool things with these different gear levels and stuff. And they're thinking about Destiny, which was still pretty new at the time, but kind of pushed over to third-person action adventure with these anti-heroes and stuff. And now it shows up and it just looks generic and very samey to everything else around it. So it's tough if you chase these trends. You better be able to get the game out faster than 7 years. But once again, it's Rocksteady. I will give them the benefit of the doubt, and I will be open-minded and try out Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, but I will be very honest when I play it, and I'm sure that'll be a fun week on the podcast. Next up, let's talk about a big-time game reveal that didn't really feel like it was big time when it was revealed. This happened on the WB earnings call, which, okay, they're talking about Hogwarts Legacy and all these different things. Talking about Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, and how apparently they have some pretty big expectations for this at launch, which, that'll be, again, interesting to see. But then they go on to talk about Mortal Kombat 12. In fact, this is how news got out there that Mortal Kombat 12 is indeed a thing, and it's coming out this year. They're just kind of going through, okay, yeah, we got Hogwarts Legacy is doing really well. Oh yeah, Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, a lot of expectations. And then Mortal Kombat 12, big expectations for this one, and it's coming out 2023. It's like there's no trailer, nothing like that ready to go. You thought that would have been a pretty cool reveal at Summer Games Fest, E3, a state of play, just something. Nah, here it is on the earnings call. And people were kind of surprised about it because they're just kind of listening to it, passively, maybe even in the background as they're taking notes. Then boom, Mortal Kombat 12, not Injustice 3, which does make me a little concerned for Mortal Kombat 12. I mean, what else can they really do with the Mortal Kombat franchise? I'm not expecting them to blow the whole thing up and completely reinvent the wheel, more or less, build on top of what they've already done with previous iterations, then just continue a storyline going forward. I don't know, it would have been really cool to see the big Mortal Kombat logo appear randomly in like a big time trailer drop during Summer Game Fest to catch everyone off guard, even though we all sort of expected a Mortal Kombat 12 because it's been kind of leaked and joked about and put out there. But there was also the thought that maybe NetherRealms would have been working on Injustice 3. Not quite, but hey, maybe after Mortal Kombat 12, they can go back to DC and work on that. Otherwise, though, if you want your DC fill, I guess you're looking towards Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. But looking forward to see more about Mortal Kombat 12 anytime now, since it's coming out this year. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about the Famitsu sales charts. These, of course, track game and system sales week to week in Japan. And we've been taking a look at this more and more recently because an interesting trend has seemingly flipped there, and that has to do with the Switch and the PS5. The past 3 weeks, we've seen the PS5 top the charts, so I was curious to see how that would continue along here, which we'll start with the software first, though. At the top, we do have Hogwarts Legacy on the PlayStation 5, continuing with that top spot. And then, number 2, another PS5 game, and that's Wild Hearts. This looks kind of weird, because typically it's like a clean sweep for the Switch, but no, the top 2 titles are PlayStation 5 games. Then we have Pokemon Scarlet and Violet Tales Symphonia Remastered on the Switch, 21,860. Splatoon 3, we have Theater Rhythm Final Bar Line, that's on the Switch, 11,565. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Tales Symphonia Remastered, that one on the PS4 at 7,503. Then Minecraft and Switch Sports. Moving over to the hardware, the PS5 once again at the top and almost doubling the Switch sales again this week, 88,653, pushing its year-to-date up over 500,000 units so far, and it is working up to that 3 million mark lifetime. Then we have the Switch below that, 48,896. The Xbox Series did have a bit of a boost there at the 6,600. And then we have the PS4 still selling actually 1,581. And then somehow people keep finding these 3DSs in the back coming in at 79. So it does appear that a new trend has broken out in Japan, and that is just that the PS5 is in stock and the Switch has probably reached that market saturation that people have been figuring would show up here soon in the sales charts. And I feel like it is kind of getting there to where Nintendo is trying to just sell people in Japan a second or even third Switch, and it seems like that's worked, as I do hear people say that they have multiple Switch systems at home. I'm curious the effect that Tears of the Kingdom will have, because I know Kirby is out tomorrow, and that will be in the sales charts for next week, and we'll take a look at those too, but I don't know if Kirby is necessarily going to boost Switch sales up. So basically, it'll come down to if the PS5 just doesn't have much stock that week, and then maybe the Switch can overtake it again for first place. But let's be real, the Switch, it's been out for a while. I mean, there's a ton of systems sold in Japan. If Nintendo wants to really push things along in terms of hardware, it's probably going to be hardware that's going to do it, not necessarily even big software releases, because you'll just buy the game. You don't necessarily need another Switch to play Tears of the Kingdom. But there we have it, the PS5 continuing to push along there at the top of the charts in Japan. And before we go to the comments of the day, we're going to take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I ask, give the Sony State of Play a letter grade. C is at 42%. That's actually the letter grade I gave it when I went over this with my immediate reaction on Spawn Wave Plus channel. I think it's F at 22%, D at 20%, then B and A. So the interesting thing looking at this State of Play, there really wasn't anything with first party. I mean, like the PlayStation Plus with Uncharted was there, right? But that's kind of it. And this really shows Sony's strategy for 2023, which is to lean on a lot of third-party games and having their marketing in line with it, have the PlayStation logo next to Hogwarts Legacy, do timed exclusivity deals with things like Final Fantasy 16, and really at this point just align themselves with games that you figure will do really well, Resident Evil 4 Remake, and well, what we see coming up with Silent Hill 2. Otherwise, though, Sony, they had Horizon Call of the Mountain, but that's PSVR 2, so a limited number of people will be playing that one. Spider-Man 2? I'm trying to think of what else they'd really be doing this year. Now, a showcase is still rumored to come up in May, and maybe they drop a few other things for the rest of this year, or at least start doing some big time reveals to get things set up for the PS5 generation. But yeah, it looks kind of like it's going to be maybe a quieter year for Sony's first party, not necessarily PS5, but from their first party studios. Yes, they'll be leaning, I think, pretty heavily on a lot of third-party games for this year. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Jimmy saying, the Angry Birds situation just shows how crappy an all-digital future will be. We've already seen examples of it before as well, but it's a reminder I can safely say once the physical form of games is gone, I will officially stop with modern gaming and just enjoy my huge physical collection for the rest of my life. I mean, I hear that a lot, but let's face it, if something really cool gets revealed that you want to play, you probably download it and play it. But I am actually shocked that we're even still on physical copies now, today, because everything around us says that these publishers and developers want it to be all digital. I mean, think about how much more control there is, right? There's less costs in getting these games out there and producing and the logistics and these different things, and above all, control. I mean, if they don't want a game to be out there, they just remove it. They delist it. The Angry Birds developer, the studio behind that, said, well, that $1 Angry Birds classic, it's hurting our bottom line. It's gone. We'll even rename it just for fun so you can't find it easily in search results or on your downloaded games list. So that's one of the reasons I believe going into next generation with the PlayStation 6 and whatever the next Xbox is called, there won't be any disk drive and there won't be any discs, because it's all benefits the publisher and developer and the platform holder for it to be all digital. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here. Today was that Sony State of Play. What did you think about it overall? And then Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. Am I wrong here for being disappointed in what I've seen from Rocksteady now with their 7 years of development? And what do you think about Mortal Kombat 12 just kind of being revealed kind of nonchalantly during an earnings call? Are you excited to hear that it is indeed the 12th installment for Mortal Kombat, or were you hoping for Injustice 3? Thanks, guys, for watching. Have a great weekend. I'll see you back here Monday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time for Newswave.